Vocational education in the United States varies from state to state. Vocational schools or tech schools are post-secondary schools. Students usually enroll after graduating from high school or obtaining their GEDs, that teach the skills necessary to help students acquire jobs in specific industries. The majority of post-secondary career education is provided by proprietary, privately owned, career institutions. About 30% of all credentials in teaching are provided by two-year community colleges, which also offer courses transferable to four-year universities. Other programs are offered through military teaching or government-operated adult education centers. Historically, vocational education was considered less financially lucrative in the long term than a bachelor's degree. There are several trade school jobs that earn a respectable income at much less cost in time and money for training. Even 10 years after graduation, there are many people with a certificate or associate degree who earn more money than those with a degree. Historically, high schools have offered vocational courses such as home economics, wood and metal shop, typing, business courses, drafting, construction, and auto repair. However, for a number of reasons, many schools have cut those programs. Some schools no longer have the funding to support these programs, and schools have since put more emphasis on academics for all students because of standards-based education reform. School to Work is a series of federal and state initiatives to link academics to work, sometimes including gaining work experience on a job site without pay. In 2023, enrollment in vocational-focused community colleges rose 16% compared to 2022. Differences between vocational education and traditional education. The biggest difference between vocational education and traditional education is the amount of time students need to complete their education. Most vocational institutions offer programs that students can complete in about 1.5 to 2 years. Students attending traditional colleges often take 4 to complete their education. Traditional institutions also require students to complete a liberal arts education. Students must enroll in a broad range of courses that are not necessarily related to their area of study. Vocational institutions require students to enroll only in classes that pertain to their particular trades. Federal involvement is carried out principally through the Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act. Accountability requirements tied to the receipt of federal funds under the Act help to provide some overall leadership. The Office of Career, Technical, and Adult Education in the U.S. Department of Education also supervises activities funded by the Act, along with grants to individual states and other local programs. Persons wishing to teach vocational education may pursue a Bachelor of Vocational Education, which qualifies one to teach vocational education. The Association for Career and Technical Education, ACTE, is the largest private association dedicated to the advancement of education that prepares youths and adults for careers. Its members include career and technical education, CTE, teachers, administrators, and researchers. In many states, vocational education is available to workers who have been previously laid off or whose previous employer is defunct. Such teaching was expanded under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009. Though results have been, for the most part, inconclusive, job retraining programs have been noted to retain a positive effect on employee morale. Even in cases of displacement, those who underwent job retraining programs exhibited a more positive outlook on their circumstances than those employees who did not partake in job retraining programs. Several studies have also suggested that for layoffs, employees who remain with the company exhibit positive morale and are more motivated in their work environment if the layoffs are handled effectively by the company. Job retraining programs in the United States are often criticized for their lack of proper focus on skills that are required in existing jobs. A 2009 study by the U.S. Department of Labor showed that the difference in earnings and the chances of being rehired between those who had been was taught and those who had not was small. Retraining or refresher training is the process of learning a new or the same old skill or trade for the same group of personnel. Retraining is required to be provided on a regular basis to avoid personnel obsolescence due to technological changes and the individual's memory capacity. This short-term instruction course shall serve to reacquaint personnel with skills previously learned, recall to retain the potentials, or to bring their knowledge or skills up to date, latest, so that skills stay sharp. This kind of training could be provided annually or more frequently as may be required, based on the importance of consistency of the task of which the skill is involved. Examples of refreshers are CGMP, GDP, house trainings. Retraining, repetition of a training conducted earlier, shall also be conducted for an employee, when the employee is rated as not qualified for a skill or knowledge, as determined based on the assessment of answers in the training questionnaire of the employee. In the early 20th century, a number of efforts were made to imitate German-style industrial education in the United States. Researchers such as Holmes Beckwith described the relationship between the apprenticeship and continuation school models in Germany and suggested variants of the system that could be applied in an American context. The industrial education system evolved, after large-scale growth after World War I, into modern vocational education. This CTE, career technical education, historical timeline illustrates the steps in the evolution. Vocational education was initiated with the passing of the Smith-Hughes Act in 1917, set up to reduce the reliance on foreign vocational schools, improve domestic wage earning capacity, reduce unemployment, and protect national security. Around 1947, the George Barton Act expanded federal support of vocational education to support vocations beyond agriculture, trade, home economics, and industrial subjects. The National Defense Education Act, signed in 1958, focused on improving education in science, mathematics, foreign languages, and other critical areas, especially in national defense. In 1963, the Vocational Education Act added support for vocational education schools for work-study programs and research. The Vocational Education Amendments of 1968 modified the Act and created the National Advisory Council on Vocational Education. The Vocational Education Act was renamed the Carl D. Perkins Vocational and Technical Education Act in 1984. Amendments in 1990 created the Tech Prep program, designed to coordinate educational activities into a coherent sequence of courses. The Act was renamed the Carl D. Perkins Career and Technical Education Act of 2006. Career and Technical Education, CTE, programs provide opportunities for high school students to learn in-demand skills and provide a fast track to the workforce. Unlike the former vocational programs, CTE programs can culminate in post-secondary degrees or certificates. These programs can span from culinary arts and hospitality management to fire science, computer science, and nursing. However, all offerings include a one-year certificate or two-year degree and with a high-skilled hands-on learning experience. Some jurisdictions are introducing CTE alternatives to standard high schools as a means of addressing student engagement and dropout issues. CTE programs are shown to promote engagement for students who feel disconnected from traditional education models. A vocational school, trade school, or technical school is a type of educational institution, which, depending on the country, may refer to either secondary or post-secondary education designed to provide vocational education or technical skills required to complete the tasks of a particular and specific job. In the case of secondary education, these schools differ from academic high schools which usually prepare students who aim to pursue tertiary education, rather than enter directly into the workforce. With regard to post-secondary education, vocational schools are traditionally distinguished from four-year colleges by their focus on job-specific training to students who are typically bound for one of the skilled trades, rather than providing academic training for students pursuing careers in a professional discipline. While many schools have largely adhered to this convention, the purely vocational focus of other trade schools began to shift in the 1990s toward a broader preparation that develops the academic as well as the technical skills of their students. This type of institution may also be called a trade school, career center, career college, or vocational college. In the United States, there is a very large difference between career college and vocational college. The term career college is generally reserved for post-secondary for-profit institutions. Conversely, vocational schools are government-owned or at least government-supported institutions, requiring 2 full years of study, and their credits are usually accepted elsewhere in the academic world. In some instances, charter academies or magnet schools may take the place of the final years of high school. Career colleges, on the other hand, are generally not government-supported in any capacity, occupy periods of study less than a year, and their training and certifications are rarely recognized by the larger academic world. In addition, as most career colleges are private schools, this group may be further subdivided into nonprofit schools and proprietary schools, operated for the sole economic benefit of their owners. As a result of this emphasis on the commercialization of education, a widespread poor reputation for quality was retained by a great number of career colleges for over-promising what the job prospects for their graduates would be in their field of study upon completion of their program, and for emphasizing the number of careers from which a student could choose. Even though the popularity of career colleges has exploded in recent years, the number of government-sponsored vocational schools in the United States has decreased significantly. The Association for Career and Technical Education, ACTE, is the largest American national education association dedicated to the advancement of career and technical education or vocational education that prepares youth and adults for careers. Earlier vocational schools such as the California Institute of Technology and Carnegie Mellon University have gone on to become full degree granting institutions. Thank you for watching this video.